So we have cinnamon bark, we have fennel seeds, we have fenugreek seeds as well. So you can smell it. It smells really good. Now these chunks here, these are licorice root. So you guys have all gotten like the bigger chunks, maybe about this big. So what I generally do is they break super duper easy. So you can just break them if you like. Okay. Now in that paper that I gave you, it's really tricky to see. I realize the picture is like really hard to see exactly what to do. So that's why I decided, well, I'm going to make a video. Plus I'm going to talk a little bit further in a little bit more detail about this specific spices. So with your spice mix, you can use about a teaspoon or so, and you use 4 cups. So I have it in here. You can see the steam come up. 4 cups of boiled water. And then what you do is you just take your teaspoon, you put it in, and then you let it steep. That's it. And then break up your licorice root and drop your licorice root in there and just let it steep for a while, okay? And then you would strain out all your seeds and then just drink your Rasa tea like that. So a couple of things that's quite funny. It's really yummy tasting, I find. I personally really like it. But what I did notice is that one particular time I made it really, really strong. I probably put a teaspoon of each type of seed in, and I put a big chunk of the licorice root in, and there was definitely not 4 cups of water. There was probably less, and I noticed it to be quite potent. And in the way that I noticed it is that my skin actually started to flush a little bit, and it was like it felt like it was very cleansing, like it was just pushing things through, man. So the rasa is a dhatu and part of a system that is essentially the waters of our body. So it's our lymphatic system. It's in our white blood cells. And the interesting part is that we're like 70% water, right? So it is important to feed and to fuel and to cleanse your Rasa Srota, okay? And why should we do that? Let's think for a moment about water. You think about water outside. Water that sits stagnant in a pond, that would be like when we have edema, when we're starting to kind of swell up, right? And we're retaining water. That would almost be like a stagnant pond, okay? When we are very dry, our lips are dry, our skin is dry, everything is rough, it's almost like our pond is drying up. So what we would like to have in our body is a nice body of water, let's say a stream, for example, something that is always moving, you know, that is moving quite nicely. That's what we'd like to have with our water system of our body. So it's a really important Srota to work on. It's a really important one to be mindful of. And because it is the waters of our body, it touches every other system in our body. So it can help feed, cleanse, and nourish our liver, our circulatory system, our bones, our muscles, our fat, everything. Okay, so all of our systems. It's the first system that needs to be fed and nourished so that everything else in our body can also then be fed and nourished. So the first little part here is about licorice root. Now, I find it super interesting with different herbs is to know, okay, why this particular herb? What's special about this herb? What are the qualities of each herb? But the main thing to always remember is that even though it is an herb, it is natural, right? It is from the earth. It doesn't mean that it's always good for you. There are going to be herbs that are good for others while they're not good for others. There's also herbs that you shouldn't mix together. So don't go goofing around with herbs like crazy. Be mindful to see somebody who knows a lot about herbs. And that's why these particular ones I'm sharing with you are ones that are safe to put together. But as always, be mindful about how you feel when you have them. If you're noticing certain effects that you don't really like, you know, it's giving you diarrhea, it's maybe elevating your heart rate too much to the point where it's creating anxiety, that's an indication. Listen to those indications, right? So licorice root. Licorice root is bitter, it's sweet, and it's cooling. So it is really great for our pitta in our body. So it's really great to cool and to sort of calm the waters of the liver and all of that. It's a demulcent herb and an expectorant herb. And what that means is that it promotes discharge of phlegm. So it helps to flush the body, but then it also helps to nourish the body. It's really neat because it is said to clear the lungs and the nasal pathways and the phlegm in the stomach. So if you have excess mucosal buildup in the stomach, then it's said to kind of help sort of flush it out and release it. Not all of it, but release what you need to be released. It can be used as a tonic too. So you can use this licorice root, and in your water, just like that, you can use it as a tonic on your wounds. So that's pretty cool. One thing to be mindful of is if you are excess in kapha, where you have very high edema. And I know one person like this, and it's so crazy to see, but literally he can just push his finger into his leg like that, and like the dent stays in his body for a long time, and it's just the weirdest thing. That is very excessive edema. Water retention, not good. So if you do have issues with that, then definitely be mindful to not use this in excess. And all that means is that drinking, you know, a bunch of it all day, every day. If you're just doing it for a few days, it's likely okay, but of course be mindful and notice how you feel. So the next one here is fenugreek. Fenugreek is also bitter. It is pungent in the way of that it's heating. It's very heating in the body, okay? So the tissues that it focuses on is plasma and the bone marrow. The tissues that the licorice root focuses on is the waters, the same stuff, basically, okay? If you have any pitta conditions, so any type of inflammation, any issues with liver, stomach, spleen, any issues with skin, autoimmune, things like that, then you really want to be mindful. Also, if you know someone who's pregnant, or if you wanted to feed this to a pregnant person, not ideal because it is very pungent in a heating way. So not the best herb for you. Fennel is sweet and fennel is pungent, but this time it's pungent in a way of cooling. So you may have heard me talk about pungent spices before, and I say how they're very spicy, but pungent can also be sharp. So sharp meaning that it's penetrating. So I think of it in a way that boiling water, you stick your hand in it, it's gonna hurt, it's sharp, right? But if you go outside and it's freezing cold and you have frostbite on your fingers, that's penetrating in a cold way. It's gonna hurt, right? So it can relieve the vata in the body. So it can relieve intestinal gas, pain, distension. It can also help to increase your agni, which is interesting, right? Because you might think, well, cool, how can this increase the fires, increase my digestion? But because it's sweet, it's nourishing. So it can help to kind of get things moving again and just nourish what maybe might have dried up, let's say. Okay, so it also helps with all of the systems as well, the nervous system, digestive system, and the urinary system, which is really interesting as well. So the last one that I'm going to talk about is cinnamon bark. Cinnamon bark is pungent again, but this time it's pungent in a way of heating, but it's also sweet. So that helps. You guys know if you think about cinnamon, cinnamon tends to be hotter, right? It's spicy. If you use cinnamon essential oil, then it is definitely heating oil, and used alone, you might actually feel it burning your skin, okay? So it is a stimulant, and it is a diuretic. So it helps to actually promote function in the kidneys. So it helps to flush as well, and helps to kind of light up and stimulate. Fennel, I forgot to say, one thing that I wanted to talk about was that it's antispasmodic, and it is also a carminative, which means that it helps to relieve gas. Too much air helps to sort of nourish, okay? The antispasmodic as well tends to be sort of a vata issue. If you have lots of muscle spasms, it can be in a way of dryness. So fennel is very calming and cooling for that. So back to cinnamon bark. Cinnamon bark, the systems is the blood, the plasma, the marrow, the nerves, circulatory system. So all of these 4 herbs are great for the waters of the body, for the circulatory system, for all of that. Neat thing is that you might have heard that cinnamon bark, or cinnamon, is a pain reliever. So it's said to be a pain reliever for toothaches and for muscle tension, which is pretty cool. It is good if you have a weaker constitution. So weaker constitution might be if you tend towards the Vata and you tend to be quite dry and quite cool in nature. It can also be really great if you are more Kapha and more in the excess and more in the cool sort of nature as well. So it's really great for that. It's a harmonizing and it's strengthening. So it helps to strengthen flow and circulation as well. Now, in your paper, if you can see the picture a little bit better, I'll do another video because I'm already at like 10 minutes now. So if you're still listening, cool. But I'll do another little video on what herbs you can replace. Okay, so it says fennel, for example, you can replace fennel with anise. So I'll do another little video on all of the replacement herbs and chat a little bit about that with you guys as well. So have an awesome day. Hopefully you enjoy your tea. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of it actually and how you feel it in your body. Take a moment to notice it. Once you're drinking it, notice it an hour later, maybe even later on during the day, you notice different effects. Get back into your body and notice how it feels. All right, that's all for now, folks. See you later. Bye.